Hello, my name is Amira Beth. I am a transpersonal healer in Southwest Washington State, and I am also an incarnated mer being. Welcome to this episode of the Great Kingdom of Atlantis. In today's talk, I would like to share with you my remembrance of the healing temples in Atlantis and the way that the Atlanteans, the way that we worked with chakras and the way that we worked with energy and auric fields. So when I remember Atlantis, when I've gone into past life regressions and I've gone into my own remembrance, the temple that I mainly remember and worked out of was the Temple of Poseidon that was right next to the ocean. And I have memories, and some of you who resonate with being a mer being or being a water being will also maybe have these memories of a particular place that we would come up out of the ocean, kind of a rocky place on the beach, kind of served as like a portal or a gateway for us to transform from our watery selves and move into our body with legs and come up upon the land and walk up into the temples to do our healing work. So in another episode, I'll talk a little bit more about the mer creatures, all the different kinds of mer beings and what we were like and what life was like for us. But for now, I want to really talk about the Temple of Poseidon and what I remember about being a healer and being a shape-shifting mer being during that time. So if you have your own memories of being a mer being, and working in Atlantis, you might, this might help trigger some of your memories and remembrance as well. So what I remember about the Temple of Poseidon, and because I was a water being, I remember really wanting to stay close to the water. I worked mostly underneath the temple, where there was this very vast opening that we would come through. It was one of the ways that you could enter. You could also enter from up top, from the city, and then come down the steps. There were these beautiful marble staircases that took you down kind of like underground into the temple. I would enter, and the water beings would all enter from the beach, from the beachy area, and enter inside. And when you came in, it would open up to this cavern of waterways and walkways and waterfalls and beautiful plant and colors and foliage and crystals. So, if you can kind of imagine just like walking into this vast space underneath this temple where you could walk along between the waterways, and then there were bodies of water, all around us, and the sound of water and the sound of waterfalls in the background. And as you walked along these little pathways, you would move back into the temple where there would be these little alcoves. And in these little alcoves, the back of the alcoves would be, there would be bright flowers and crystals all in the back. So the alcoves would be dimly lit, except lit by these crystals, by the light forms from these crystals and all these beautiful plants and flowers and scents. I remember the scents of the flowers very, very well also, because aromatherapy was very important. All five senses, anchoring all of those into healing sessions, were really, really important. And so you would have, the sounds of the water, you would have the sounds of the singing bowls and all the different instruments, tuning forks and things we still use today. You would have the smell of the plants and some special oils and powders that would be used. Visually, it was just beautiful. The underground temple, the healing temple, was just absolutely a sight for the eyes. And above you, when you would lay on, there were quartz tables that we would lay on, crystal tables that we would heal people on. And they would look kind of uncomfortable, but they weren't. There was something about this quartz that would sort of like meld to the shape of the body or the form of the body of who was laying there. Then, of course, you would see that amplification of whatever that crystal, whatever that quartz table, whatever it carried. If it was amethyst a person needed, or if it was golden healer, or whatever the energy of that crystal was, you would lay on this table, and then above you would be crystals as well. The crystals would all resonate with the colors of the chakras and be lined up down the body. So we're all familiar with the 7 chakras from the root to the crown. Those are the ones that are most commonly accessed and healed with and worked with. In Atlantis, we worked with 12 chakras. We work with chakras from underneath the feet, starting with the Earth Star chakra, the root, the sacral chakra, which was the masculine and feminine energy, the solar plexus, the heart, the high heart, which is right between the throat and the heart chakra, the third eye, the crown, and then a few above the head as well. So right behind your head is a chakra called the Kajal chakra. And I see it as light green, and we would refer to it as that voice in the back of your head. And even today we all have kind of this voice that talks to us in the back of our head, and that's that chakra. That's our soul's voice, ideally. So then above the head, just about 6 inches, would be the soul star chakra, which would be the voice where our higher self and our angelic guidance would come through and does come through. And then above that is the stellar gateway, which is gold, which was and is the completion point for the 12 chakras in the human auric field back then and today. So there's not a lot written out there on the market about these various chakras. If you want a good resource, Diana Cooper's Discover Atlantis is part of how I remembered all these chakras and how we worked with them. And then auric fields were very important also. The aura that surrounded a person, the colors they carried, the rays they carried, and helping us all stay very clear and bright in our vibration and our auric field was very important in Atlantis as well. So the lights that would be above, the crystal lights that would be above the body on the healing tables, would help to purify and cleanse and clear the chakras. We would also use our hand, these spinny hand motions, opening, clearing out, moving energy in the chakras, and very much the auras. Auras were always cleared, cleansed, healed, filled with light, filled with color, constantly. Color and the vibration of color were very, very important to the Atlanteans. So the healers who worked in Atlantis would use these crystals, just kind of like we do today for color therapy. And then we would also infuse, we would transfer light and energy back and forth between us as well. And so, the healing system that was there was definitely included more chakras, like the expansiveness, and we also knew the importance of the Earth Star chakra. I want to talk a little bit about the Earth Star chakra beneath your feet. It typically shows up as brown or black, and that is the grounding point to our physical bodies and to Mother Earth. And the Atlanteans knew the importance of being such high vibrational beings, being fifth dimensional beings in a physical body, the importance of really feeling grounded into that physical sensation of being grounded into the earth and connected to the earth and to the elementals and to the plant and animal kingdom. So it was that chakra that it allowed us to really stay in our physical body and walk upon the earth and maintain that connection, that very high vibrational connection to Mother. So some of the other things I remember about the healing temple, I didn't go above the temple very often, but when I see it with my mind's eye, there were many, many rooms. There were many, many different sections. The temples there, and especially the Temple of Poseidon, was just huge. It was just a humongous place. There were community rooms. There were rooms where people would go to do specific ritual and ceremony work. There were just rooms for all different kinds of aspects and healings and hallways and places where people would come together in large groups, kind of have meetings, Atlantean meetings. And the pyramids, this particular pyramid, I remember it being marble, but also crystal, like covered in crystal, like in a crystalline form as well. So this temple was made of marble, and many of the temples in Atlantis were stone or marble, and some of them were pure crystal as well. So this one I remember having some kind of a crystalline coating around the outside of it, around and copper also. There was some copper infused in there as well, and it was just an amazing like anchor point for divine energies and for Christed energies and for the energy of Poseidon himself. So the mer beings would mostly work in the temple of Poseidon. That's where we are most comfortable, and that was the temple that was closest to the water. And so, like I said, in one of my future episodes, I'll talk a little bit more about the mer beings, the mer creatures, how we entered and exited the water, and how that happened, how our legs happened, and then how our legs, went away when we came back into the water. Thank you so much for listening. You can find me at ameribath.com. Again, I work in Southwest Washington State. I see people in the mermaid room, in my healing room, and I also work with people via Skype or internet or phone. So go ahead and reach out to me if you have any questions about this video or anything in particular about my healing work. I wish you oceans of love.